everybody.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of What's Up Watchtower. Thanks for joining us today, and we have a lot to sort of talk about in this video, so we hope it won't sound too rambly, but there is a point to what we're leading to in this video. So let's just kind of start with this past week. We put up a video a week ago about a man who was filmed in the door-to-door preaching work, who had been previously convicted of first-degree sexual assault against a 9-year-old child. And we didn't say it at the time, but you know, first-degree sexual assault is rape. So he raped a 9-year-old child. And we're still trying to get some information about this because he claimed that he had turned his life around since becoming a witness. But I was under the impression from information that we received previously that he actually was a witness when this happened. So we're still trying to find that out, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that. Interesting though that reporter is looking into doing further investigation into the witnesses. So out there in Colorado Springs. So yeah, so this led us to thinking about some things, because it was very interesting reading all the comments from you guys, and we appreciate your passion and your commitment to the truth. And but we did want to sort of talk a little about, we're changing our policy slightly about how we deal with the types of comments that we get on our channel.
Yeah, the whole point of our channel is to be effective at reaching those who are current Jehovah's Witnesses, or those who are fading, those who have questions. And we did realize that a lot of negativity comes with the battle back and forth in the comment section regarding those who are Jehovah's Witnesses, current Jehovah's Witnesses, and those like ourselves who have learned about different policies and different things and know facts about the organization, and it just becomes kind of a back and forth. And we realized that after seeing numerous comments like this, some of which get heated, some of which use very foul language, surprisingly enough, most of the time that's on the part of the Jehovah's Witness or the person claiming to be the Jehovah's Witness. So we decided that it was really best if we limit that in the comment section. And
if we can. I mean,
the reason is, we first of all, we appreciate and want to keep everyone's First Amendment rights 100%. We are not interested in censoring anyone. That's not what we're talking about. What we've realized is that the Jehovah's Witnesses, who other people will start, maybe you could say, ganging up. I don't consider it that. I consider that as a lot of people who want to put their input. But we would never want to give that Jehovah's Witness the opportunity to say that we were being abusive to them, ganging up on them. We just don't want to project that kind of an image, because really and truly they have a complex about being persecuted, and anything that we do that can be construed as persecution to them will be construed as persecution. And we don't want to add to that complex that's going on. We want to prove the stereotype that they are saying that apostates is wrong. What they're saying about apostates is wrong, and we want to provide a better example of that. So we're going to be limiting some of the long threads. We've also come to believe that there are Jehovah's Witnesses who are counting their time as they write these extremely long messages on not just our videos, but pretty much everyone else out there who's making videos who's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. So
they're just copying and pasting from jw.org, and we're not going to let you count your time on our channel. If we feel like this is what you're doing, and we've seen a few of these types of comments, we're going to just delete those comments. So you're you're really wasting your time by doing that. And this going back and forth, I think it's very twisted that you're using that opportunity to count time, but yet you wouldn't say hello to us on the street. You wouldn't even tell members of your congregation that you're embarking upon conversations with apostates. So this is very hypocritical, and it's also a waste of everybody's time. And we're just not going to allow it anymore. And we're also, going to try to make sure that there's not like ganging up on a person who, we believe in free speech. So if you have a heartfelt comment and you believe you have the truth, then, we're going to allow that to stay on our site. But if we see that it's becoming unproductive in some way, or like we said, too heated, just unproductive, I would say, we're gonna try to limit those because that's not the point of what we're trying to do here. It was kind of shocking though that what people have come to call JW apologists would actually defend this person who was convicted of raping a child. What were you going to say?
Wayman Ivory, yeah.
Yes.
The specific case that happened in Colorado Springs, when on that video that we posted, there's a lot of people defending a man who was not just accused of raping a child, but convicted and served time for it.
Mm-hmm. And so it was very, it was kind of troubling to see that people would defend and not understand that a homeowner with children, or even the congregants in his own congregation, not knowing this and perhaps allowing their children to, who knows, be in some kind of association with this person without their knowledge of his past, that you would think that was okay. That a homeowner who has no idea of this person and what they've done in the past, that it would be okay for them to just go to people's homes with children without them knowing.
I mean, anyone who's a parent who has children would be shocked and horrified if they were to find out that one of their children's teachers had raped a child. That would certainly, it wouldn't happen. That person would be fired and would never work in that business again. And yet, the Jehovah's Witnesses consider themselves teachers, educators of the truth and of the Bible. And this man, Wayman Ivory, that was shown in that video, he's a minister. He's going door to door and ministering. He's teaching from, that open source arena where he can be out in public and be anywhere and a teacher. So yes, it wouldn't be uncommon for a grown man to have a Bible study with a young man in field service. That has happened numerous times. But wouldn't you want to know if the man studying with your 12-year-old boy was accused of or convicted of rape of a child?
The reason that we were covering that story in our video was not to sensationalize, a negative story about Jehovah's Witnesses. It was really to highlight a point that we're going to talk about more towards the end of this video, but just that to point out that these things are happening, they're not made up, and it's now starting to get coverage in the news, and not just this story, but other stories. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into this video.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention is especially to the Jehovah's Witnesses, the active and or fading Jehovah's Witnesses who are currently watching this video. We were talking about it, and the way that apostates, or those who have left the organization, are shown by the governing body, by the leaders in the publications, the way that they are portrayed is as evil people, is as people who are selfish and insincere, out for their own interests. I just think it's important that you guys really kind of understand this situation with those who have left the organization. And I think the best way I can kind of explain it is through a little illustration. Just imagine if you get a job at a grocery store where your mother has worked for a very long time, knows the ownership, knows the guy, the manager, knows all the employees. She's been there for quite a while, loves her job, it's a great family environment. So you get a job there and doing pretty good, progressing up the ladder until you finally get moved into the lower level of the accounting and bookkeeping in the business. Now, you're working there for a few years, your mother for a great deal longer than that, and as you're on the job, certain things don't quite add up to you. So as you're in this job, you realize there's two sets of books in this business. There's one set of books that gets shown to the tax people and the government, and there's another set of books that keep track of all the money that's coming in and funneling in. So, as a good, honest-hearted person, you find this discrepancy, and what do? You immediately go to your mother, who is had a long-term relationship with that employer, and you say to her, I have found out that there's something really wrong here. Something doesn't add up. There's two sets of books. Something is happening with money here. And your mother doesn't believe you. But you have proof. You have a copy of the books. You have the records. You can show anyone what's actually been happening. But the mother gets angry with you and says, how dare you defame the name of this man who I've worked for and with for so many years? He's been good to us, good to our family. He even gave you a job. So, is there a way to reach that person with the proof, with the evidence? Because we kind of feel that that's the situation that we are in. That we've learned something after belonging to an organization that our parents belonged to long before we did. But they didn't see what was happening. And maybe it's because of their age. Maybe it's because the internet hadn't caught up with where it is now at this point in time. But I can tell you this, the stuff that you're seeing on YouTube, the videos you're seeing, the stories people are telling, these are true stories. And I can't speak for everyone, but I can tell you this, that the people who you trusted and associated with and talked to as friends at the Kingdom Hall, one day they're not there at the Kingdom Hall. But you know what? They are the same people that you spoke with and trusted. They haven't become all of a sudden untrustworthy overnight or an awful person overnight. What they have done is discovered something that was wrong. And they have tried to tell other people about it. And we understand where that puts us in the organization. We are now outcasts, but we really want you guys to understand that the people who are cast out from the organization are done so they do not share the truth of what they have learned with you, so that you remain in the organization. And it's just really shocking that people that we've known our entire lives, our parents, would be so quick to dismiss anything that we had to say, as if we were fools, as if they raised us poorly. We're smart people. Our parents were smart people. They raised us to think right, and sure, we were in that religion for a long time, but all of a sudden, with a flip of a coin, it seems, they don't trust us anymore, and they feel like we're liars, and they feel like we have betrayed everything that we ever stood for. When in actuality, we are the ones who were betrayed by the organization that lied to us, that told us the United Nations was like the worst thing in the world, as they were a member of the United Nations, etc., etc., etc.
It goes on and on and on. And just like we were talking about earlier, when you wake up, or let's not even use that word because witnesses hate that expression. When you realize that you've been lied to, that the organization has covered things up, which we know is true. It's now documented that it's true, especially with the Australian Royal Commission investigation that's going on. So we know things have been covered up, and we're still the same people. And not only that, we actually feel like we've become better people in a lot of ways, less judgmental of others, more open-hearted to people and compassionate, and not so quick to judge and dismiss people as worldly and they're just going to die at Armageddon kind of thinking, right. Which I know that, hey, believe we had that kind of thinking at some point, you know, that we had the moral high ground to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. We found out that just isn't true. And there's been so much exposure lately about cults. And we were talking about something that just happened over the past couple of years in Scientology. They sort of got rocked a little bit because of a former member who was raised in it by her mother. So that's all she ever knew. This person was very famous.
Right. Well, you guys would know who it is. It's Leah Remini from. She was on the show King of Queens, and has been on some other TV shows. And we thought it was very fascinating because here's a person who, just like us, had been born into a specific religion. They were taught from birth and inculcated, indoctrinated from birth that this is the only truth, that there is nothing else out there. There's nothing else of value for you in the world. And when she learned about things that were wrong with the organization, she felt she had been lied to and deceived. And so she turned against it and publicly spoke out about the Scientologists, and at great peril to herself and her career. So when people like that stand up, I know for a fact that there had to be some Jehovah's Witnesses watching that program. I think she was on Dateline and a couple of other shows at the time that this was happening, talking about Scientology as a cult, as a high control organization. I know that there was some witnesses watching that interview and thinking, wow, isn't that amazing? She was able to escape from a cult. Mm-hmm. But friends, that's what we're trying to tell you. And all we can hope is that you will see that we're genuine and that we're honestly telling you the truth. The reason people don't know it widely is because A, witnesses are encouraged not to do any research that's not on the jw.org or JW publications. But this information is freely accessible worldwide. All you have to do is type some stuff into Google and you will be on a train of information that once you stop reading, you won't be a Jehovah's Witness again.
Yeah, it was very, it took a long time for me to come to the conclusion that the witnesses were a cult. And many years, I wouldn't really believe that of the organization, even after I had left. But after all of my research into high control organizations and cult tactics, it's the only conclusion that I can come to, is that it was heartbreaking for me to admit that I was raised in a cult. That was not an easy thing to admit.
It's a real blow to your ego and to your psyche to realize that you were so confident that what you were doing was right, so much so that you would have died for it. You were so confident that what you're doing is right, you would have died for it. But in the long run, we found out it's not true. We would have died for a lie, and that's a real shame. That's a real tragedy that people have died for this lie. Mm-hmm. So all of you are familiar with the word cult. It's kind of been in the pop culture lately. But have you ever taken the time, just using the internet, a dictionary, and some other information, and look up what a cult actually is? Or you can type in ways to identify a cult into Google. You'll find that there is such a vast wealth of information. And this isn't anti-Jehovah's Witness information. This isn't anti-religion information or anti-Bible information. It is strictly technical definitions by medical professionals and psychology professionals to describe what this is. And there are certain signs that help to identify high control groups and cults. And please, please see for yourself what those signs are and look it up for yourself, and then be honest with yourself and compare that with the Jehovah's Witness organization and see if you do not find that the Jehovah's Witness organization represents almost every single point that can be used to identify a cult.
Well, you had said something earlier, I don't remember exactly what it was, but the witnesses have been off the radar as being a cult for a long time. In fact, when Stephen Hassan wrote his first book, he did mention the witnesses, but didn't spend a lot of attention to them. But he has even come to the conclusion now, after learning more, because the witnesses are so secretive about what actually goes on within the organization, the policies and procedures that are set forth by the governing body for how elders handle things. So there's so much secrecy that goes on, and people don't really know what Jehovah's Witnesses believe and the type of tactics that have been used on the witnesses. It was very subtle. It's getting to be not so subtle anymore, especially since world consciousness is raising about cults and high control organizations. So the witnesses can't hide anymore what they're doing, what they've been doing. And I find it so interesting, and it's also frustrating and upsetting at the same time, that when you mention to a witness about the policies on child sexual abuse, for instance, they'll say, oh, the elders, the policies have been changed. They do report those cases now. Well, they do report them now, I guess, maybe.
If they're legally required to.
If they're legally required to. But what about the past 50 years when they didn't want Jehovah's name being dragged through the mud? Their words. If you watch the footage from the Australian Royal Commission, one of the women who testified, when she told the elders in her congregation that she thought that she was going to testify about what happened to her as a young girl and how it was handled, or mishandled, I should say, by the elders said to her, why are you doing this? Why drag Jehovah's name through the mud? Why bring reproach to Jehovah's name? Instead of shining a light on the problem that existed because of their policies and procedures. And so the point is, why, if they're Jehovah's organization and Jehovah is directing this organization and his Holy Spirit is upon it and the faithful slave is God's mouthpiece on earth, then why is it taking Satan's secular authorities, because you say the whole world is being ruled by Satan, so that would, the authorities of this world would fall under Satan's rule. Why is it taking the secular authorities to force the Jehovah's Witnesses to do the right thing? So you're in for quite a storm, and that's sort of the point of this video. Many of you are watching our videos. We understand that. You wouldn't talk to us on the street. People that have known us our whole lives, or most of our lives, wouldn't say hello to us, but we think that you might be watching our videos, inviting us right into your own homes or onto your laptops at the very least. And you're in for quite a surprise, I think, for the things that are going to happen that we feel are happening and going to happen even in this country.
Well, what we're seeing is not just a localized thing here in the United States, we're seeing it worldwide. It's like the world's BS detector is going off. People are waking up to what is going on and the systems of control that are in place and the ways in which they're being lied to. And that we've seen this, for example, with the Scientology religion. There was a great documentary, and I would really recommend it to anyone who's watching this, called Going Clear, and it was on HBO. Great documentary about Scientology, and we're starting to see a lot of information come forward about not just Jehovah's Witnesses, but Scientology and other high control groups, because people now recognize what this is. And the only ones who don't recognize what it is are the ones in the group. Mm-hmm. So I guess what we are saying is the world is waking up to what the Jehovah's Witnesses are. And even if you don't believe it's a cult, they do. Mm-hmm. And all of your work preaching to people who have seen information from our videos and others' videos, that work is all in vain, because no one will join this religion that is so controlling. They will not join this religion that is clearly hiding at least one child rapist in its ranks. People will not stand for this. They know they deserve better. And actually, my friends, you deserve better too. You deserve to know the truth. And we're really just asking you to have an open mind. Just Google it. Just spend a little time on the internet and learn for yourself, because it's not hard to find this information.
Yes, and I just mentioned the Australian Royal Commission. They haven't finalized all of that, but what's also happening right now, in case you're not aware, is that the witnesses are being investigated in the United Kingdom. And they're being investigated by the Charities Commission, because Jehovah's Witnesses are registered as a charity, and as such, they receive millions of dollars from the Charity Commission for their activities. And so now they're being investigated because of what happened in Australia, I believe, is what sort of sparked the interest.
Well, there was a public outcry to do the same thing that happened in Australia in Britain. Mm-hmm. And actually, there are petitions going around. I've signed a petition online to do the same thing in the United States. And it's coming. Yeah.
And, as a result, the witnesses spent millions of dollars in legal fees to fight the Charities Commission to be able to investigate them. And they took it all the way to the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom to try to stop it. But guess what? They lost. So now it is going forward. And the Charities Commission said that they'd never seen an organization that fell under the Charities Commission actually drag their feet so much in producing the documentation that was being requested, that they hadn't seen that before. So it just shows you, if you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. But they obviously have a lot to hide.
And we're just starting to scratch the surface now. This is the first time in modern history that I can remember that the Jehovah's Witnesses are coming under fire for breaking laws, committing crimes. I mean, this is not just, they're a weird religion. This is, hey, they're breaking the law. They're committing crimes. They're abusing the system. This is serious business. And this has nothing to do with apostates. This is the government finally recognizing that Jehovah's Witnesses are lying to everyone, including the government. Mm-hmm. And they do not like being lied to, especially when it comes to their money.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we could just go on and on about that, because there's so many lies that we're finding out about. But the point is that you're going to go door to door, and the people that you're going to meet are going to start learning about Jehovah's Witnesses, because guess where they're going to go? Even if they are interested and they think maybe they're interested in the message, they're going to go online and they're going to find jwfacts.com. They're going to find maybe our website, What's Up Watchtower, other websites. They're not going to go to jw.org. You know, they may go there, but they're going to start going other places too. They're going to find YouTube videos, and the list goes on and on of the information that they're going to find. And so it behooves you to become educated and to learn about the things that they're going to find out about, so that you know what has gone on within your own religion. And
before you get to that, just one
okay.
thing. Basically everyone else in the world with internet access, anyone who's gone to school, the way people view things is that if you were to tell somebody something nowadays, they would investigate both sides of it. That is just how the world works. The only times you get a situation where somebody is given one side and told to believe it 100% completely is in a high control group like the Jehovah's Witnesses. No one else out there is going to just take your word for it that these are truths, that these are facts, that the governing body and the writing department at Bethel has done the proper research. No one will believe it, because people want to be sure for themselves, especially with something so important as your eternal life. So, isn't it amazing that anyone that you probably talk to at the door will Google this, they will YouTube it, they will look at other sources, and yet the Jehovah's Witnesses, the ones who are basing their entire life on this belief system, will not check one other source.
They won't even check the sources that are being quoted in the literature. And, you know, one of the things that we started realizing after we left is that, very rarely does the Watchtower quote its sources. And then even if you can find the actual source that it came from, 9 times out of 10, it is very misquoted. It is misquoted or cherry picked. They've taken a part of one statement, ... and then part of another statement, put them together to totally misrepresent what the person wrote, to the extent that they have been sued for misquoting people. The average Jehovah's Witness will never know that. Why do you think that the divine name and the Trinity brochure are no longer being produced? It's because they misquoted people and they got sued.
Yeah. And you could say, well, there's a new brochure, there's a new book to take its place. Guess why that happened? She just told you.
They were sued!
And there is no such thing as out of print. It's called the internet. You throw the book on the internet, nothing is ever out of print anymore, ever. So that whole thing about it's out of print, we're not making more, no, that's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a truth, but the reason for it is a lie.
Exactly. So like Mike said, people's BS detector is going off, and your great tribulation is just beginning as a Jehovah's Witness. And it's not what you think it is, but we have a very strong feeling that it's going to get really difficult to be a witness. And not because we're living in the last days.
Not because the religions of this world want to shut you down.
No, it's not because the religions of this world are jealous of you and all the members that you're drawing in. No, it's because you can't hide anymore from what you've been doing and the lies and the cover-ups. And as an example of this, and I did get permission from this gentleman to share his letter with you guys. So we got this letter a couple months ago, and just really appreciate it. Barry, thank you so much for reaching out. I hope that you're watching. Thank you for sending us this letter. But he starts with, I won't say his full name, but he says, I retired from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in 2011 after 25 years of service. He went through some bad times. His wife ended up leaving him, and he felt betrayed by the system that he had devoted his life to, because now half of his pension plus alimony was going to his wife. So he sort of became bitter about his situation in life and lives alone, and sort of, he said, became a hermit. Okay. So then he continues. Approximately a year and a half ago, a JW came to my door. I did not immediately run him off because I planned on having a little fun with him for my own amusement. However, I soon felt ashamed of myself because he seemed so sincere in what he was telling me. I agreed to a Bible study, and he has returned approximately twice a month since then. He encouraged me to attend the meetings, which I did on a few occasions. The people were very kind to me. I have not had a lot of kindness in my life, and it felt good. I also thought I was learning about the Bible. It is my nature to vet anything I plan on getting involved in. Needless to say, the Watchtower did not pass the smell test. It was hard to believe the things that I found out. I was, and still am, very disappointed. I have watched many YouTube channels similar to yours and have corresponded once with the Faithful Slave. That's not Faithful Slave, that's the Fateful Slave. I no longer want to have anything to do with what I have determined to be a very destructive religious cult. I think you guys spelled out your case brilliantly in your disassociation letter, and I'm asking for your permission to use portions of it in a letter I plan on writing the Kingdom Hall to discourage further visits from them to my home. I also want to thank you both and the ex-JW community for helping to steer a lonely old man away from something that was candy-coated on the outside but horribly rotten on the inside. Thank you for your time.
Well, this is going to be your standard response now when you're starting Bible studies and meeting people in field service. This is going to be the response that you're going to start getting, because people will vet what they are being told. They will test it to see that it is true, because people are not stupid, and they will use the tools available to them to check facts and make sure that what they believe is correct, because people don't want to believe lies anymore. People want to check and know that what they're being told is true. Nobody just listens to what somebody tells them anymore without questioning it. Those days are over, because you know what? The world around us can't necessarily be trusted. You have to make sure for yourself. And when the witnesses say, I do make sure for myself, I read the publications of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and they have done the research. They have vetted everything, and I trust them. Well, how many misprints, how many lies, how many misrepresentations in print are you going to have to see before you realize that that's not an accident, it's a pattern of behavior? And all it takes is one visit to jwfacts.com, and you don't have to just read what's stated there. You can look up dates and pages of specific articles and go to your own Watchtower library and look them up. It's maybe just a good way to find topics and then refer back to the Jehovah's Witness literature that you have in your own possession and check it from the Jehovah's Witness literature. Don't refer to apostate stuff. Check it right from their literature.
Even better yet, whatever they quote from, Kim and Mike have done a really great video, they've done several, about, in the reasoning book, the topic of the cross.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And if you actually go to the sources that they quote, you're going to get a completely different picture as to what that person was actually saying. So it was deliberate misquoting of these individuals and these publications. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're phasing out the reasoning book, because now people can go and check the sources. It's much easier now with everything being online to go and check.
Yeah, because most oftentimes they will give a person's name, but they will not give the name of the book. They will not give the page number that it is found on. But Google is such an amazing thing, because if it says the guy is a scholar or a Bible scholar, you can Google the name and type in Bible scholar, and guess what? You will eventually find that person, and nothing is so hidden on the internet that you can't find it. So that's what other people have done. That's what we've done. I've looked up numerous articles, books, pages from documents that were quoted, and I've proved it to myself beyond the shadow of a doubt that we are being lied to.
Mm-hmm. It's so much so that you can't just chalk it up to the writing department not doing their research properly. It's deliberate. It's obvious how deliberate it is.
And if it was a mistake, why not print a retraction? Why not say we made a mistake? They will never do that, because the mistakes aren't mistakes. They're deliberate.
Yeah, they are. So,
it's just a lot of stuff going on.
It's a lot of stuff going on, and this was, we covered several topics. But first of all, we're not going to let people proselytize and count their time on our YouTube channel.
Well, the truth of the matter is, it's our channel. We decide the content, not others. And if it started to head down a negative road, we don't want it to go that way. And we will not allow our channel to be hijacked by other people. So we're taking complete control of this right now.
Yeah. And, many of you probably noticed that there were comments that were no longer there from our last video. I removed them. He didn't remove them. I removed them. Because he was just copying and pasting every single person's comment. He was copying and pasting his original comment. So I just went through and I deleted all of them because it's nonsense.
Yeah. We're done with you guys who do that kind of stuff. We just are. I'm sorry. I hope that you have a great life and everything, but we are not interested in getting involved with the web that you're spinning. So that's not happening.
We don't understand it. It seems kind of sick to us, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, the one person said they spent 250 hours a month on YouTube typing in to ex-JW channels. And they said that numerous times, 250 hours a month.
You think they're counting 250 hours?
Well, they said they're already pioneering and counting another 90, so I don't know what they're doing.
I don't either.
But
it's bizarre.
But it's not happening anymore. So we invite your comments. We will not censor people, but there is a line that we are not going to cross on the channel. And keep in mind, the main goal is to actually reach those who are looking for answers, and to reach current Jehovah's Witnesses and help them to free themselves so they don't waste more years of their life waiting for Armageddon to come, because it's not coming. Not in the way that you think it is. We're seeing a lot of changes worldwide right now, and I know that most all of you watching this can agree that you see changes going on worldwide, and part of it is a global awakening that people are just questioning everything. And get ready for it, because you guys are going to feel that too.
Yep, you sure are. That's how we see it, and I think that we're right about it. That's my gut feeling about it. So yeah, some things coming up. Maybe a little bit of a teaser. Hoping to do an interview with a former elder
who lives close to us.
Yeah.
And I had the great privilege to speak with this gentleman on the phone. And the reason he left the organization is shocking. And I'm going to leave it right there.
Yeah.
Because, 25 years as an elder, and this person had something happen that they left the truth. Something happened that made them... Something happened that made them...
See, we still fall into the speech and the words that they raised us with.
I have a feeling I'll be saying that till the day I die.
I know. See, another sign of a cult is they have their own terminology.
Their own language.
Their own language.
The true language.
So yeah, so that's going to be exciting. I'm hoping that happens and that we can share all of that that with you guys too. And yeah, welcome to all of our new subscribers, and thank you for.
I just want to say something else too.
Okay.
You know, I really think that the people who subscribe and comment to our channel are some of the brightest, sharpest, most intelligent, witty, and they're just amazing.
Yeah.
You guys have made me laugh. You have made me laugh out loud. Mm-hmm. You have grabbed my attention and made me do research on things that you've said.
Yeah.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
You know, all in all, the group of people that is associating with us on our channel and commenting and this kind of, you know, names that we recognize, and, you know, these are awesome people. I really wish I had the privilege to meet you all in person. Maybe at some point in time it'll happen, but, you know, there's certain ones like JP, Indy, Cheryl, you know, so many guys that we just think you're just fantastic. So we really appreciate you guys as well.
And we don't mind, you know, all the comments that were made. You know, we do want to keep it, try to keep, even towards those that, you know, are irritating to us on our site, keep it respectful, which for the most part you guys always do.
Yes.
So we really appreciate that. But we're just, you know, going to try to monitor that maybe a little bit better, because some of it's just nonsense that they put up there, and we don't need that.
I mean, actually, I got to give credit to some of the people who subscribe to us and comment on the YouTube channel for mentioning that thing, because when things start to get out of control in a certain thread, they will say, hey, look, it's important that we not persecute this person or persecute. They understand, they get it. These guys are smart. You guys are smart.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that too. You guys will certainly understand why we're doing this. And I know you will, because of the comments on the last video and the responses. So this is in response to that. You know, this is something that I think our viewers brought to our attention and made us really have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
So thank you guys, and we're taking your advice, and it's important, so we're doing it.
Yep. All right. So once again, thanks for watching. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great week,